as lovely as the sunrise over Vancouver Harbour. A sunrise that I saw 30, 40 years ago, but I'm sure is as beautiful today as it was then. Magnifique. Magnifique. So that's Vancouver and Victoria for you. One of the sad things that it really has changed is, in my days there was a Chinatown, and it was the second largest Chinatown in North America, next to New York and San Francisco. That makes it the third, doesn't it? But in fact, I think it was slightly larger than the New York version. As a student and in later life, the cry would go up, let's go down to Chinatown. And you had a choice of 20 or 30 restaurants, all exciting, all with great food. And the gatherings would be around big round tables, and we would share all the food, and really it was magnificent. The radio station I worked at that time was given the call letters CJOR. And while I was at CJOR, one of the disc jockeys was a chap called Kenny Chang. And Kenny was just one of the loveliest guys that you've ever come across. But he knew everybody in Chinatown, and on a Friday he would say, hey, come on you guys, come on, let's go down and have a meal in Chinatown. And at least half a dozen people would say yes, sometimes more. And he would take us to a restaurant with known friends, and he would say, you will never ever see this food that you're going to get now on a menu, and we never did. And it really was quite magnificent Chinese food. I just wish that Kenny, I was in touch with him now. I have no idea what's happened to him, and he has no idea what happened to me. But it would be nice to go back and say, Kenny, tell us about some of the dishes that you actually provided for us in those post-week Friday night visits to Chinatown with the folk from CJOR. Because if he told me and I went to a local Chinese restaurant and said, would you make it, I'm quite sure that we could have a meal that nobody would ever have again. I'd love to be able to do that. But Chinatown is no more, because the Chinese are good citizens in the main. Chinese have populated Vancouver to a high degree. They own a lot of the real estate. They have dictated how really the community will develop. And the one thing that they don't do is they don't live in clans, if you like, in almost the word ghetto, although the word ghetto has a bad vibe about it. There's no reason why not. It's just a talk. It just means a collection of people of the same ethnicity and so on living together. But the Chinese have sort of spread themselves around the community in Vancouver, so that that central Chinatown has disappeared. And yet it still appears in the brochure saying, oh, do come to Vancouver and visit our Chinatown. No point, not there. And that's a pity. And let's hope that there's some forward-thinking government or entrepreneur or something which realizes that if they put that back together, they've got a tourist vehicle that very few other people, very other few cities would have. Don't hold my breath. People don't think that way nowadays. Well, I'm getting all sorts of things pinging on my phone at the moment, but none of it terribly important, so I shall ignore it. But my very first dish of the little pasta balls with meat in the middle. You see, that's the problem. When you get a little older, you do tend to forget names, and that's silly because it's one of the things that you'll find on any menu here. And it's not dim sum. Don't come back to me with dim sum. But that's where I had my first taste of that, from a big bowl which went into the centre of the table, and then you helped yourself all the way around. Everybody being quite careful to make sure that they didn't get a portion that was out of proportion with the other diners. And they were lovely, lovely evenings with magnificent food and lots of jollity. They were good memories, and particularly when you're in lockdown, those are the sort of things that you remember and say, yeah, not bad at all. It's 51:37 minutes into this program. It's 1 minute past 9. So what have I got? About another 10 minutes left, a little under. So let's play one of my favourites now, and that's Yeva Sujan from Yerevan in Armenia, with Flawless Mind, and I just love it, and we use it in our documentaries emanating out of the Priory in Lewis, and there's a story to the Priory which I've told many times, and I don't mind telling it again.
He'll never bring you down or leave you alone. Trust him all in all, 'cause he's the light. He'll lead your way through darkest of times. He'll never let you go, and he'll be there for you, and he'll be there for you. He'll never bring you down or leave you alone. Trust him all in all, 'cause he's the light, and he'll lead your way through darkest of times. He never lets you go, and he'll be there for you. He'll be there for you. He'll be there for you. He'll be there for you, and he'll be Look at him, your Savior is there. He's the Lamb of God, our Savior, Redeemer. He's alive. He took all your fears. He never let you go. Even in the seas that you drown, and nowhere you can run, I keep your eyes on the prize with a flawless mind. Even in the seas that you drown, and nowhere you can run, keep your eyes on the prize with a flawless
Magnificent voice of Little Frog in the Throat again, of Yeva Sujan. And that's called Flawless Mind, and it's something that I'm particularly happy about. I really like that piece. And if you've ever been down to the Priory, or the Priory ruins in Lewes, then you'll understand how haunting that can be. The Priory in Lewes, site of part of the Battle of Lewes of 1264. The battle between Henry III and Simon de Montfort leading the barons, and which started the first spark of democracy in England. Not the democracy that perhaps you would expect today, although our expectations are a bit flawed, I'm afraid, at the moment. But a democracy nonetheless, and a first meeting in Westminster of a group of representative barons to have a say in the running of the country, which until that time had been the divine right of kings, and that is that the king was all-powerful, and what he said went. And that started to change, until, with the foresight of people like Tom Paine, who lived in Lewes, went to the United States at the invitation of Benjamin Franklin, helped the colonists shed themselves of British rule, came back and helped Robespierre, until he fell out with him, establish the French Republic, and then didn't dare come back to Britain, because at that time he was a really declared revolutionary, a declared Republican, and the establishment most certainly weren't having that. And Paine was tried for treason, the short word for it, treason, in his absence, and had to go back to America, the United States, which he named. That is according to the historian Bill Bryson, and where he died. So we have a lot to do with the development of not only English but global democracy in Lewes, and you can be reminded of it down at the Priory, with the remains that were built in 1080 and are still standing today. Not the grand Priory that it was, but still a testament to how well they built things in those days. So that's it for this morning. This is Keith Hayes in Lewes, East Sussex in the United Kingdom, and what we're going to do is we're going to play ourselves out with our usual thing from Ben Sound Buddy, one of the tracks that I really like, and anyway, it's a bouncy sort of thing for a bouncy morning show. Okay, till tomorrow, toodle pip.